Greetings and welcome to The Thirsty Mage, the podcast that sounds best through the high-tech innards of a Sound Blaster sound card. Welcome to the podcast. I'm David Lloyd. In this episode, we travel back to the 1990s, the late 90s, mid to late 90s, and into the early 2000s to discuss a golden age in PC gaming. We're going to talk about some of our favorite games and some of the shenanigans that we may have gotten into as teenagers when we had too much time on our hands and a much more flexible sense of morality. Joining me is the man that was glued to his desk in the 90s playing the latest Blizzard release. It's Casey Gibson.
Yeah, it's funny because I guess when I think about it, right, I don't think that I was too much of a PC gamer, but I suppose I have been, like historically with between like MMOs and then dating more back to the RTSs and the Diablos and all that good stuff. But I do remember one time we had a computer and I was like, oh, we need a better graphics card. So we just went to EB Games at the time, which is an electronic boutique, but it was, I believe, purchased by GameStop at some point. But I remember I went there and bought like a new graphics card and had like no idea how to install it or anything. And then we figured out that it was like, no, this is not the right one for our computer. And we returned it, and I don't think I ever upgraded a PC or any graphics cards ever again.
At least they let you return it.
Yeah, it's a different time. Nowadays, they would tell you to take a hike.
Yep. The thing for me this week, I guess over the past few weeks, I've been playing a lot of GBA, and the entire time I'm playing, I'm like, why didn't I play this when it came out at the time? And I'm like looking up the dates, and I'm like, I think the GBA was early 2000s. And yep. I'm thinking to myself, well, what was I doing? And I'm like, man, I was playing a lot of PC games back then because I was looking at the list of all the games, and that was basically like when I started university too. I think I started in 2001. That was like my first year in university, and I remember having a PC at home, and then I ended up a couple years into university, I switched to a different one, and I bought myself like it had to have been like the most top of the line Dell laptop at the time. It cost a ridiculous amount of money. But I was like, no, I invested every cent I had into both moving away for uni and on this laptop. It was just me and the laptop, and I loaded that sucker with so many games. But before I moved there, we had this I guess it was in like an independent video game store. So we had our Blockbuster Video, and it was like this giant store, massive, like, all the videos and the video games or whatever,
like spotlights on it. Yeah. Like, yeah, eyesore.
And then four doors down from this Blockbuster in this plaza, there was like a little indie video game rental store called Game Power, and they rented PC games there. It was the only place that I knew that actually would rent a PC game. And so I, would go there and I'd rent a game. And I don't know how I came up with the idea. I don't know how I managed to find sites that had these things. But somehow a teenage David figured out that no CD hacks existed. So that once you installed a game, you no longer needed the CD if you applied this patch. You rented the game, you own the game, it's on your computer for good. And so they kept seeing me like every few days at Game Power. They're like, dude, you really like PC games? Like, I love these games. And I don't know if they knew what I was up to or what the deal was, but I feel bad now, as an older person that has money. But back then, I was a teenager. I had no money. I wanted to play video games. I did what needed to be done.
Absolutely, yeah. I think back then it was like the Wild West. I remember actually because I had one of the earliest games. I think the first two PC games I ever had. Because I remember we got like a family computer for Christmas. That was like our big gift. believe it was a Gateway, but I could be wrong on that. But yeah, we had Mist, which I think a lot of people had,
Hmm.
and we had Quake, which is awesome. Quake is awesome. But Quake let you install without, yeah, you didn't need the disc at, like, it was just by default.
Yeah.
So that was one, like, Quake was always getting passed around for installs, because, and it was cool because it had like not like the jewel case, it had like, I guess like more cardboardy, but I don't know. The one we had, yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, I remember that one getting passed around a lot, and then I remember um, like Brood War, which was the StarCraft expansion. I don't like. We had burnt discs of that game from somewhere. Like, I forgot if my neighbors like downloaded it and burnt it to a disc. But I remember, like, I'm pretty sure there was something with it. Like, it was pretty easy to either like generate a key, or maybe it was like if you had the base game, and then you had the burnt copy of like Brood War, it was good to go. Like, it didn't need its own key, or I don't remember the particulars, but I do remember like I don't want to say recently, but at some point, like years later, finding like my old Brood War like blank disc. Uh, uh the good old days.
Yeah. Well, it's fine. I was going through my collection. I still have a few of those PC games from back then. Some of them, I'm looking at them and I'm like, I remember playing these. I don't remember why I bought them, why I know what they are. Like some of them are like I have one called Air Force, Israeli Air Force, and it's basically like an F-18 simulator, sort of like you know, dogfighting style like simulation game, but it's specifically for the Israeli Air Force. I have no idea why I have that. Like, I don't remember buying
Propaganda.
it.
They're trying to get you.
They were probably giving it out for free. It was probably back in those days. Do you remember when the U.S. Army put out a free video game, and it was supposed to be like a Call of Duty, but it was like specifically for recruitment.
Yeah,
I don't
so
I don't
funny,
remember
dude.
if you ever. I actually downloaded that. I was the only Canadian probably that was on the
Yeah,
server.
there's a ping in Toronto area. This is
Yeah,
strange.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think I ever played that, but I do remember like about like yeah, the military game
Yeah.
recruit.
Yeah, and I still have my Knights of the Old Republic games. I have there's like 3 or 4 discs for each. I have like the first one and the second one. Um, I still have all my like I have the Command and Conquer discs still. Like the first one, I think Tiberian Sun. I can't remember
Oh,
if
yep,
that's
that sounds
yeah.
familiar.
Red Alert.
That was the
Um,
one I had.
yep. Yeah, I still got those. Oh, I'm trying to think. I have a copy of the Enter the Matrix that I never actually played. It was like an online Matrix game. Like I don't know. I think I like got it hoping to get internet one day, but never didn't have it or something at the
Never
time.
got there.
Or I had something. I can't remember how that worked. No, I had to have internet. I was finding those new CD hacks, so I don't know how that worked. I
Maybe
don't
not
know
good
why I never
internet.
played it. Yeah, or maybe you know what? Maybe my computer wasn't good enough to run it or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah,
That
the
that happened to
few.
us. We my dad was into Quake when we were playing it, so we got Quake 2 one year, and yeah, our computer was too poopy, and it like
Oh yeah.
it would only open it in like a tiny windowed, like a quarter of the screen, if
Oh yeah.
that. Um, maybe even smaller than that, and obviously it was one of those big old tube monitors, which so it didn't have a big screen to begin with. And I remember my dad getting all angry and returning it. But yeah, it's funny now he's actually been playing Quake and Quake 2 on Game Pass on his Xbox.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes when I'm dropping chants off in the morning, I'll see him just running and gunning over there.
Oh, that's awesome. Uh, it's funny. I still have like so that beefy laptop I bought when I was in university. I actually still have it around because for years, you'll appreciate this as a fellow trading card game fan. For years, I had this game called WW. I don't. It might have been WWF at the time because this was around when they changed their name. But it was called With Authority, and it was essentially a wrestling trading card game. And
Hmm.
so when it first released, like you had to pay for like the packs and stuff, so you get like a wrestler, you get decks, so you'd have like a wrestler like Undertaker, or Jericho, or whatever, and you'd have like your initial wrestler that you would choose, but then you had to like fill the deck up with like different moves. And so you had the moves like in that you would just pull or whatever. And but the way the energy worked was that it was like momentum. So if you pulled off one move, you started with one momentum. If you did the next move, you could use cards that use two momentum, and it just kind of built up, and then there'd be finishing moves and stuff.
Huh, that's pretty
And
cool.
and each wrestler, yeah, it's really neat. Like each wrestler had different, like you'd have high flyers, you had like your big guys, and they had like HP. And then you could try to pin at any point. Like you can pin whenever, but like if you fail to pin, I think like it's the other guy's turn or whatever.
Yeah, you like left open for a shot or something.
Yeah. So and then you always wanted to try to pin after a special move or whatever so that you to maximize your the likelihood of winning. And
Chance, yeah.
there was like rankings and stuff because it was all online. You're playing like real people online. And I put way too much money
I
into that
was the
game. The
third
packs were
best player in
expensive.
Canada.
Yeah, I don't know. But what happened was is I guess there wasn't enough people playing or whatever. So WWE is like, forget it, we're done with this game. So they shut the servers down and everything. But I guess there was enough people playing that they unlocked the game. So basically, all that money I poured into this stupid game was gone. But the they these people unlocked the entire game, so I had all the cards for free now. And they set up their own server separately that the game connected to, so that everyone that was
Your
playing
own
could keep on
private
playing
servers.
without it. Yeah, it was private servers. So it
That's
must have
awesome.
been yeah, we played for like I played for years after. Like it obviously, like as time went on, the amount of I think there's a little bit of a boost. I think there's a bit of a boost at the beginning because when the game became free, there was like
More
some
people
new people
interested.
that came because they're like, oh well, if I'm going to get all the cards free up front, then yeah, like get me in on this. But
So what you're
then
trying
I
to
think
say is that you've always been a nerd?
yeah, yeah,
No, that's awesome though. It, it
it's pretty
it must
much
have been bittersweet though when they opened up all the cards because it's like, oh, this is awesome, but like also, yeah, like I spent so much money
yeah.
on the cards I had.
Yeah, I was like, "This is great and all, but I've already flushed like $200 down the
Can
toilet."
I
And
get a refund, please?
yeah, but no, I kept playing and enjoyed it. So, um, yeah, I'm trying to think of like just any other like one-offs before we get into maybe with some deeper dives. But I guess the other fun one that I would play off and on, which I think still exists to this day. I think I've talked about this before on the show. Is Space? It's called Space Merchant, and it was like a browser-based game, but it was like really old style browser. It wasn't like Flash. It was like there was a universe created within like web pages, and so
Oh
you'd like
wow.
yeah, so you'd like click on like so you'd be in there'd be like section 501 or whatever, and maybe you can go north or south or east or west. Like sometimes it was blocked, like there was only certain paths you can go and stuff, and there was trading routes, and there was um, planets that you could build bases on, and there was like good and evil affiliation. So like if you got your evil meter down, then you could trade in illegal goods that were typically like make more money than the regular ones. But uh, the whole trick to it was like you'd need to find a port that sold a certain item, and then the farther away that other item was from another port, like the more money you would get. So like if you found a port that sold jewels, and the closest port that bought them was like 10 turns away or whatever, then you'd set up this like trading, like you go there and then you'd run to this other port and then you'd sell, and then you just keep doing that to build up your money so that you could upgrade your ship and stuff. And but then like ships could blast you while you're doing it. But a lot of the times it would also depend on how quick your internet browser was, because if you clicked like you could be attacked and not know it, but then if you've got a quicker internet than the other guy, then you could be like running away from them while they're trying to attack you. And if you get away from them, then it just says like missed or whatever on the other person's thing, and then they would have to like try to guess where you're going and stuff. And
Deep,
there
yeah.
was
Oh, that's pretty
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
it was pretty neat.
I'm trying to think. I was just thinking of like what random games. And this one, man. Okay, do you remember? I had to look it up what the name was. It seems to be called Tank Wars, or
Oh, that sounds familiar.
maybe like I'm looking like this one's called Scorched Earth, but they look like the same style of game essentially, where like you're a little tank, and then like you shoot your missile or your ammo, but like you'd have to adjust with just the keys, like the trajectory of your shot,
Oh
and then
yeah,
it leaves. I don't know if you if you look up a video, um,
yeah. I got a
and like
screenshot.
yeah, it shows like where the trajectory, and then it would like blow up, but like you could like blow up your enemies, but you could also like take out the land below them, and then they could like fall from like and die from fall damage, you know what I mean? um
Oh yeah,
but I remember playing that a lot randomly, like with my brother, and then I guess it must have been online, because I mean, I guess maybe against computers, but I don't know. I remember that was just one random game I was looking at or thinking about, like, man, what's a, a game that played a bunch of, um, yeah. I mean, obviously, we're gonna get into some more heavy ones, but yeah, I guess, like I said, aside from Mist, Quake were like my earliest introductions. Then it was like I played Counter Strike as well, quite a bit. Never very good at it, but I played a bunch of
yeah.
that. Oh, like Battlefield 1942,
Oh yeah, yeah.
right? And I don't know if it was like, I feel like I don't know if it was a demo or like I only had like one level, I feel like. But I just remember like playing it and like flying around and just like my mind being blown, like, oh my god, you can get the planes and like fly around and like shoot at people. Like, I remember putting a lot of time into that one too.
Yeah. I remember. Did you ever play the original Rome Total War?
No, I don't think I've ever played any of those games.
No, I think I might have melted some circuits in my computer playing that one because it's basically like you have an army of and you like you'll have like 100 or 200 little guys or whatever, and you send them off to like fight another army, and you watch, like you're sitting there watching it in real time as they fight each other and stuff. Um, I know, like it's gotten, it's funny looking back on, there's so many games that we played back in the 90s and stuff that are just uh basically like either mobile, like they all turn into like mobile games or gotcha games or paid, like it's so
Keep
depressing
the
sometimes.
IPs alive, yeah.
Yeah, it's like all these IPs that we loved in the night, like early 90s or early 2000s, late 90s sort of thing, and they all like ended up getting sucked up into the big mobile craze.
I think that's why people. I mean, aside from I haven't played a lot of it, but Baldur's Gate 3, obviously, like a very good game, but it's like a return to form, or really, I guess, sort of sticking to form, where everyone else is, like you said, sort of going cheapo out. They sort of stuck to their roots and nailed it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's so many. Well, I guess I'll save it for a bit because we'll get into the real time strategy games. But why don't we start with Quake? It's like we'll go chronologically. I know I have a short list here of 5 games that we wanted to kind of specifically highlight, and I got them here in chronological order. So why don't we start with Quake? This is the one. So you said you had played it when you were growing up. I've been trying all week to try to figure out how to play this game on something I own. So I had uh, I was trying to figure out how to get MS DOS games onto my Trim UI. I managed to get as far as to get the emulator installed for MS DOS games, but I could not get the files in the right format for it. I eventually got to the point where I figured out that the original Quake was also ported to Sega Saturn, so I played that on my Steam Deck for a bit.
I was gonna say, or you could just buy it for, but I guess it is $10. So
Yeah,
on Steam Deck, I think I actually own it on Steam Deck, so I think I must have bought it on Steam sale for like a buck or two. Um,
yeah. I bet you.
so
I
do you
bet you
not
there
have
was a big
Game
sale.
Pass?
Not anymore. I used to have it.
Okay.
But yeah, because Quake is owned by Bethesda now. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so you have just only played a little bit then.
yeah, just like probably the first couple levels or whatever. Like I was running around, I was shooting Like the first thing that came out at me right away was like, oh man, this looks just like Doom. Like PlayStation.
Yeah, it's definitely obviously same people, right?
Yep.
Made it. Doom came out first, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
So yeah,
was the successor to it.
yeah. So it's definitely very similar looking, but I guess Quake is very like. I guess Doom is more like hell, right? Like depths of hell going like in like down. I feel like where I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
think
Quake
so.
is more like outer space weirdness, like
Yeah, it's like
extra.
aliens and stuff. I think.
Yeah, like yeah,
Yeah.
extraterrestrial aliens, yeah, with weird enemies like that. But yeah, it definitely plays very similar to like that, arcade at first person shooter where like you can really fly around these levels and they're pretty quick, especially like if you know what you're doing. You could probably beat the game in under an hour, I would imagine. Like maybe even way quicker if like you really know what you're doing. But
Yeah.
it's actually funny because my dad was on the last level and he just couldn't figure it out, and then it like brought back a flashback to like I remember being on the last level and we could never beat it as a kid, and I was like man, and I guess like we used cheat codes or whatever back then, so like we were always I guess just thought like, oh well, I guess if you use cheat codes, like that's your punishment, like you can't actually beat the game. So we're like,
Yeah.
all right. So when he was trying to do it, like I looked it up online and like there's this portal, and like you go through it and then you go where like this little like I it's just like it looks like a little flying circle, so I'm guessing some sort of drone, right? But the idea is like the drone like goes through like the boss's head at some point, and you need to like go into the portal as that drone is going through the enemy and then he blows up because you
Oh,
just
frick.
explode him open, I guess, and then that's the end of the game.
That's
So
wild.
I think we were actually just too dumb to know what. Well, I don't even want to say dumb because we still didn't know what was going on. Like it seems pretty obtuse. Granted, I didn't play it, so maybe there were like subtle clues along the way. I don't know, but a
Yeah.
YouTube video solved it up for us. But yeah, it's definitely like yeah, fast action, first person business. Yeah, I like it. I mean, if you like that style of game, like if you like Doom, like I think you would obviously like really like Quake. And yeah, I guess it's funny because probably most people think of Doom or maybe like Duke Nukem when they think of their first person, like computer early first person shooters, and yeah, I always go straight to Quake.
Yeah. It took me a minute to kind of get back to that mindset of how the game works because when you press like up or down on the D-pad, it moves you forward and backward. But then when you hit left or right, you don't actually switch to the left or right. You're just like strafing.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that confused me a bit at the beginning.
I guess
Um,
I'm used to playing it with
oh
yeah,
no,
mouse and
sorry,
keyboard.
no, maybe I did. Maybe I'm thinking of that wrong.
He's
Sorry,
lying.
I'm no left. Yeah, I'm lying. Oh, I blew it already. Um, no, left and right turns you left and right. You turn left and right turns your head left, like your body's moving left and right. But when you hit forward and back, you're walking. So it was just getting the convincing my hand of how it works. I don't know. It's just different. Like when you're used to twin stick shooters,
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah, definitely a little different.
you're just completely, like, yeah, you're just thrown off completely. And then there was the other thing that I was getting discombobulated with was that um there was like dogs that seemed to be jumping from like the platform above me, and I'm like, I can't aim up there. Why can't I aim up? And
You
it's like,
should be able to, I feel like.
yeah, maybe I was playing on an emulator, so maybe it was just one
Maybe
of
your
those things
controls were
where,
all pooched. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they might have been all confused and stuff, like,
Yeah,
so I
I'm pretty
didn't
sure you should be able to look
like look up
around.
and down. Yeah.
Like I said, I guess I'm used to playing with a mouse and keyboard. Um, but yeah, no, that
Yeah.
doesn't. It sounds like there was probably something messed up with the
Yeah, and I mean the Sega Saturn port
controls.
might have been different too, because as far as I know, the Saturn, I don't think the Saturn had analog sticks. Like it just had the D-pad, and like I think there were 6 face buttons and 2 shoulder buttons on the Saturn. I never owned one myself, so um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it doesn't surprise me.
yep. But
Sega.
yeah, Yeah, so it's just that again that'd be one of the earlier ones, I guess, that I was kind of. Yeah, I never played Quake back then, but that was definitely around like that. I think June '96 is when Quake came out, and that was kind of when I was just getting into the PC gaming.
Yeah, I guess I forget the year we got our PC. Um, it might have been 96, right around there, maybe 97, but I do remember getting it pretty early because I was born in 89. So, I would have been 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever when we got it.
Now I remember, I know Diablo's a big game for your childhood, and I think I remember you saying that you used to watch. It was the neighbor on the PlayStation that you
Mm-hmm.
watched Diablo, right?
Yep,
Now, did
yep.
you play Diablo on PC back then, or was it just a PlayStation game for you?
No, so the PC is what saved me. So like I'm sure I played it a little bit on the PlayStation, but he never let me. So it was always one of those like, oh man. So that same electronics boutique I was talking about earlier. I remember we were there for I don't know. I don't know if we were there to buy a game or if we happened to be in the mall and my mom like let me go check it out,
Come
But
on, Mom! I really need this game.
well, yeah, I saw Diablo. I was like, oh my god, it's for the computer. Like I could play it, and yeah, like like I said, God bless my mom, for like buying little old me, like 8 or 9 year old Casey, like a nice
A devil game.
yeah, like Diablo, yeah, and not even hiding it, right? Like it's
Yeah.
literally called Diablo, rated M. But yeah, I played the crap out of that game, and it's funny because then we found out about BattleNet, playing online, and then the same neighbors ended up getting it for the PC because of how awesome like being able to play online was. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, Diablo 1 is a super good game too. I think I remember I'm pretty sure there's like a spot you can like literally type in like a URL and play it in the browser somewhere. I think I remember seeing that. But anyway, it's definitely a little, slower paced game. I feel like, the later Diablos really ramped it up into like the you know, like crazy, lots of monsters, lots of loot. This game's a lot more methodical. Like your character can't even run, so it's
Yeah.
definitely a little slower paced, but it's more like it's atmospheric, right? Like it's scary. It's you're going in, like you go into a church and then you're descending into the depths of hell, and yeah, oh, just a really good game. Like
Yeah.
I haven't gone back to it in a while for like a legitimate play, but it definitely like I don't know. It might be a little rough to play, but it wouldn't surprise me if it held up relatively well.
Yeah, it's probably something I should probably go back just to just give it a go. Yeah, when I was doing a little bit of research for it today, I came across a funny story about its development because I guess back in the day, I guess there was this uh, developer called like these three guys, David Brevik, Eric, and Max Schaefer. I guess they co-founded Condor Games back in '93, and I guess they were working on a few different things, but Brevik had always had this idea of Diablo from the beginning, I guess, because it was like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of spin-off or whatever that they wanted to create. He wanted to create, and then I guess they ran into things were going on with Blizzard at the time, and they whatever they were before Blizzard, I can't remember what they were called, but the company that was like
Yeah,
bought out
it
by
was like
Blizzard.
Scion and Psyap, something weird, Silicon and Psyaps or something
Yeah,
weird.
yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
not
they
a
were
great
going to
name.
partner up with Condor Games, and then they ended up getting bought out. But then the Blizzard people were like, "No, we still want to make this game with you." But I guess they had like two big requests of the game because originally, like at the beginning of development, they had made Diablo a turn-based game,
Mm.
and Blizzard was like, "No, it should be real time and it should be multiplayer." And I guess the David Brevik guy was like,
Screw
"Yeah,
you
I don't know."
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they were really concerned that it wasn't going to work, whatever. So I guess they were like going back and forth with like, well, if you give us more money and time, then maybe we can make these changes. And then apparently, like over the weekend, they ended up figuring out how to like how to switch it over
Implement
to
it.
real time. Yeah. But one of
It's
the
funny
things
that's
is,
what the two like things they're known for.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, that makes you wonder, like, imagine it was a single player turn based game, if it would have had the same
whew.
impact that it had.
I don't think so. I mean, not to say it couldn't have still been a good game, but yeah, it definitely would have been a little different. That's for sure.
Yeah. But one of the things I laughed at that I read was this quote from David Brevik when they were working on Diablo. He goes, "One of the things that we were trying to get with Diablo was ease of gaming. The NHL series was really good at this, where you could just click and you're in the game. Before Diablo, when you created a character, you had to answer 53 questions about this and that, and you had to name it and give it a backstory and all this other stuff. We just wanted to get in and start smashing things." But I just also thought it was just funny that named NHL, because again, like
NHL.
back then, I was definitely playing like the NHL games as they were coming out. So
And you're like,
as
man, I love it for the ease of getting into the game.
yeah.
But yeah, no, Brevik, I think he went on to make, I forget if he is the Torchlight series. Or maybe
Oh,
he's.
yeah.
Oh no, it looks like maybe he joined the team at some point. But that was sort of like a spiritual successor to the Diablo series. But yeah, no, it's really good game. And I'm glad I'm glad they ended up making some of those changes.
Yeah.
I'll still never forget like we only had one PC, so we always had to take turns, me and my brother. And I remember two moments stick out that are pretty funny. I remember like being up, and the first time I ever killed Diablo in Diablo 1 was like it was like 4 in the morning, and I remember being scared because I was like, oh my god, it's Diablo, like I was pretty young, and then I remember killing him and it
Yeah.
being great. And then I remember I was going over to my friend's house, and we all played Diablo at this point. Like I feel like within our friend group, like everyone was really jamming out, and like it was like, oh, like cool, I'll get to play with my brother, because he'll like I'll be playing on the other computer. And then like I got there and my friend had gotten Diablo 2. Like it, it's weird because I feel like my finger should have been on the pulse a little bit better about Diablo 2 coming out. But I feel like I remember just like, oh my god, there's a Diablo 2 and it's out. And then I remember like my brother was like trying to call us to play, which is like it was like just didn't even exist. It was just like, oh my
Yeah.
god, like this game is so good. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
good old Diablo.
Yeah, I remember those back in those days too. Speaking of brothers, that was when my brother is about 7 years younger than me. So I guess I would have been, when I was around 12 to 15 or so. He was around five to nine or whatever, and um, we did have a Nintendo 64. And whenever new games would come out, he would mysteriously become sick, and
He's smart.
and yeah, and because both my parents were working, I would have to miss school too to stay home to watch him.
Oh,
Yeah, so like 5 minutes after
smart
my
and a
parents,
saint.
yeah, 5 minutes after my parents left, he was like, "Well, let's fire up the N64."
Yeah, yeah. We
Yeah,
better order a pizza.
we had rented whatever the newest game was like the night before that he was sick that day, and
That's
like
so
I don't know, my parents must have been in on the must have
yeah,
realized they were just too busy to care or whatever. But
yeah.
man,
We
yeah,
don't want
we
to
had some
fight.
days.
We don't want. But I feel like I rarely got sick growing up. So like every once in a while, my mom like if I was like, oh come on, like I don't really want to go. Like she'd throw me the bone, like all right, you don't have to go today.
Oh man. And it's funny that you mentioned like playing at 4 in the morning, because that was the other thing I was thinking of the other day was uh, I think my wife was concerned with our son, who's I guess he's 13 now,
Staying
about
up late.
staying, yeah, like hiding his phone in his bed or something while he's playing, or like doing something on his phone, like at when he should be asleep or whatever. And um, I kind of like whatever did. I
Like
mean,
just make sure you knock, honey.
yeah, I was. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I should have been. But it just made me think of like, man, we're really strict parents. So, back in my day, like you're playing Diablo at 4 in the morning. I was playing. I remember playing Game Boy with I was like borderline fire hazard with my Game Boy and that light that you would attach to
Oh,
the original Game Boy.
the little worm light or whatever they had.
Yeah, well, this one was like it was like almost like a magnifying, like it was like a square.
Oh, yep, 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 yep. I know. Yep, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I was
so
thinking of the
you
Game
had
Boy Advance one.
yeah, so you had this great big square, and those were incandescent lights in there, not LED. So there was probably like I'd imagine under my covers, it was probably like 40, 50 degrees under there.
Nice and
Um,
toasty in the winter.
yeah, and I'm just clicking away, playing. Probably I'd imagine like Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening at that point.
Living the
Um,
dream.
living the dream. Miss those days. Miss those
Oh,
days.
so good.
Yeah, but yeah, and I'm just thinking like, oh, killing the poor guy's buzz, taking away his phone while he's.
Yeah, but he gets new games all the time. I'm sure. Where growing up, we had to
Yeah,
fewer and far between. So it's a little give and take.
that's true. Well, we broached the subject a little. We're almost about to broach the real time strategy games from back in
Mm.
those late '90s, and
Were you an
I
RTS boy?
I was a Command and Conquer boy for sure.
Mm.
I was definitely in it. I was, you know, I would play both GDI and Nod multiple times. I'm trying to remember the version. Was it Red Alert that had that famous? I'm blanking on his name, but he's from
Tim Curry's guy.
Tim Curry. That's who I'm
Yeah,
thinking of.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
you
sure
you,
that's Red
you
Alert.
already knew who I was going to say. I was about to say the guy from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Uh,
Well,
yeah, I just yeah.
I always think of him from Home Alone, 2,
Oh yeah,
and he's also the original Pennywise, I believe.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I also remember. I think Clue, the movie
Oh
like that
yes,
'80s movie Clue. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
dude. Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Now
Tim,
I've never played the game that you grew up playing though for the real time strategy.
I can't believe you never played StarCraft, man. I guess Diablo, I'm pretty sure was my first Blizzard game, and then we got StarCraft. Um, I know I've played some Warcraft 2, but I played way more like Warcraft 3 for sure. And then yeah, like Command and Conquer, yeah, Red Alert. I played a bunch of. I think that was really the main RTSs. I've played a little bit of StarCraft 2, but not a lot. I feel like that sort of came out after I was sort of off the RTS boat there. But yeah, StarCraft was really good. It had like a lot, like sort of obviously your standard gameplay where you're just trying to take out the other enemies, but they had like the custom games and stuff where people would make like interesting rule sets and things, and you get sort of mini games, and that's actually where like Dota. Um, and League and everything came out of a custom game from Warcraft uh 3. So that
Okay.
was like actually now I'm trying to think. I might be mixing up if there is there custom games in uh
Was StarCraft like was it basically Command and Conquer in space?
uh yeah, more or less. So pretty much it had the three races, the Zerg, the Terran, and the Protoss. Zerg are like alien like beings. The Protoss are like advanced alien, like sort of like Zerg, I guess, are sort of like they morph into the buildings, right? And then like they hatch eggs, and they're very like alien esque like that. Where like the Protoss are like what you would think of some sort like the like Zeal from Chrono Trigger, like what they would eventually like move into, like sort of super advanced guys. And then the Terran are humans. So you had the three like factions, but yeah, it was you like harvest materials and then sort of build up your base, and then they had like a bunch of different types of units, and then like obviously like some counter others and all that good stuff. But yeah, more or less, your standard RTS. Same with like Warcraft. Like I said, I didn't play like a ton of the earlier Warcrafts, but Warcraft 3 introduced like the hero units. So like it was an RTS, right? You'd be building your base and stuff, but you could also create like heroes that would get abilities, and like obviously different heroes had different abilities. So for instance, like if you had a shaman hero, he would be able to use like chain lightning, so then like now your other enemies got like don't want to group up their entire fleet in one tight pack, and that kind of stuff. So it's sort of advanced, I guess, from like a more standard one. But yeah, StarCraft was pretty, from what I remember, like yeah, pretty much like a true and tried RTS, if you will. But it had a campaign obviously, and then Brood War, like it extended that. But yeah, I know like StarCraft was huge in Korea. Um,
Yeah, I was reading about that.
like I'm pretty sure it's like a like a national sport, or like or like that big,
Yeah,
and then obviously StarCraft 2 came out. And it's funny because StarCraft 2 came out and they just like released, like I think it was Wings of Liberty, it was like the first one, and it was like following the human campaign, and then they released the other versions, and then I guess now you could probably just buy it in one big package. But
yeah,
I've been tempted, but it's just one of those, like, RTSs are so um intimidating to like just jump into, because like there's just so much to know.
yeah.
Like, oh, like I just got smoked because I just didn't know like the like
The
what to
strategy.
counter that enemy
Yeah,
type. And then also like I guess I was never good with like the like, oh, like you always need to be searching the battlefield, right? Because of the fog of war. So it's like, oh, you got to have your scouts moving out and about, and then like all the micromanaging and stuff. I feel like I probably was never very very good at these games, but I do enjoy them.
I think it's RTS games are where my love of swearing started. Because yeah, you just like you'd be running in the fog of war, and then you get ambushed, and then like the curse words would just start flying, and then you'd have to restart the mission, and um, yeah, I remember playing like it's too bad. I don't know. I guess I just didn't know of StarCraft because I feel like if I had known about it, I probably would have played it because I was so into the Command and Conquer series,
Yeah, that it would have
and
been down to try.
yeah, it would have been right up my alley at the time. So yeah, it's too bad. I might go back to them. I did go back to because Command and Conquer has like remastered
They
editions on
released,
Steam
yeah.
now. Yeah.
I think I threw those on my watch list for next, like one of these sales, to get it nice and dirty cheap.
Oh yeah. Well, I bought mine on a monster sale. I think it was like 80 or 90% off. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah,
Um.
it's practically for free.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, usually what you call it, you could get like StarCraft pretty cheap. I think there might even be a trial, but I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But I
Yeah.
would say I remember enjoying the campaigns and stuff too. So that's I think the good thing about the RTS is, I guess, like my mind is always thinking like you just jump into like random battles with people, but uh usually the whatchamacallits are pretty fun, the campaigns, and especially like Command and Conquer, like you said, Red Alert, with like all the oh, not what do they call the freaking those the clips with them, not VHSs,
Oh, FMVs.
FMVs, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Command and Conquer is like the acting is so good. Like it's so cheesy that it's amazing.
Yeah.
And like I think they really leaned into that fact. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Command and Conquer is really good. I remember liking that a lot. With send out your little refinery, like look like a garbage truck to go pick up the minerals and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I remember my big strategy was trying to take out the. It would be like, okay, how can I sneak around to take out the construction uh,
Oh, you're a
center of the
griefer.
enemy? Yeah, so I would like just send out like I would try to like build like a path to get to the construction thing, and then I'd send out like as many people that could attack that as possible. Like whether it was like early in the game, you would is basically I would like send 20 bazooka guys to just like swarm the construction site so that it's like okay they're all gonna die, but hopefully before they all die they take out the construction site and then they're just screwed.
Mm.
Um, they won't be able to rebuild. And later in the game, you would get things like uh, airborne attacks or whatever. So I would just like again. I had a very like swarm the enemy in one shot to take out like key
All or nothing,
pieces.
baby.
Yeah, yeah.
It sounds like the. Have you heard of the term like zerging?
No.
Or like okay, so like oh, it got zerged would be like sort of similar to what you're saying is like essentially the zerg. Oh my, is it zerg? Hold on, now I'm freaking all these terms. I'm like yeah, um. Anyway, there's an enemy type that's like you could pump them out and they're really weak. Like you could kill them very easily, but they do a considerable amount of damage. For how early on you can get them, and they're called zerglings. And essentially, it's like, oh, I'm gonna pump out like six, like not even a ton of them, like 6 or 8 zerglings, and I'm gonna go rush to the other base, and then like I mean like their like mineral collectors can kill the zerglings, you know. But if you get in there and you're smart, you can actually either kill all of their like yeah, all the mineral and like gold gatherers to either a just like you said, if you kill all them and you can like get to the base, even better, you know. But like if even enough to just sort of stunt their early game because like they can't get resources because you killed all their little like you know collectors, and then they got to rebuild them up. So yeah, that was like oh getting zerged would be sort of
Yeah,
similar to what you were talking about though.
yeah. Take out the Tiberium harvester. That was key in those Command and Conquer games too.
Oh man, good old Command and Conquer, dude. Whew.
But I know for the heyday for me in PC gaming, I think was early 2000s, and so that would be like Deus Ex. And I played, like I said, the Star Wars games. So there was like Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. There was also Jedi Academy I really loved. So yeah, getting into all those. But there's two that kind of stand out for me in the early 2000s. One was the original Hitman, Codename 47. This one, I love this one because it just felt like a puzzle game almost. It's like, okay, I get to kill people, but then I also get to trick them, and like the fact that you could steal people's identities and like take their clothes and then get into different situations, like it was just amazing to me that you had this game where there's like a mission where, and it's like, well, you need to kill this guy, and then there'd be like 30 different ways you could do it. It was just incredible to me. It's like, okay, well, here's the building. I could sneak in this door. I could sneak out that door. I could kill this guy while he's taking a piss out back. I could take out one of the chefs and walk around and pretend I'm a chef or whatever. It was just incredible to me that you could do all of these different
All those
things.
choices, yeah.
Yeah, like, again, like back then we didn't get very many games, legally anyway. So to have a game that was so replayable was definitely a boon for me. And back then I just feel like 47 was kind of a cool character too, like the bald hitman with the barcode on the back of his head, and so it was really neat. I feel so bad for the developers though. I was reading the story of like how everything happened. So like in 1997, there's a company, Retomoto. They started in Copenhagen. They didn't even get any games complete when they had to strike a partnership with a Danish studio, and that formed the initial IO Interactive that developed the game.
Hmm.
And so yeah, they developed that, and I think Idios ended up publishing it, and then they were eventually bought out by Idios Interactive. I think it was after 2004, but Idios was then bought out by Square Enix in 2009, and then Square Enix sold Idios as part of like their sell off there to Embracer in 2001, and then they didn't even last a year, and Embracer just closed them down.
Jeez.
And I still remember like everyone giving. I remember everyone was like, "I can't believe Square Enix sold all that for only 800 million. What idiots!"
What dum dums.
Yeah, and it was funny because I was one of the few people that like whatever. I don't, who cares
It is
about.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, like who cares about Hitman and Tomb Raider? Like they're such old, like their heydays were in the past or whatever. So I was like, whatever. I can't imagine this is as stupid as it looks. Like there must be something going on. And then to see that like they didn't even last a year, it's like, well,
Dropped
who's
them
the
like they were
idiots
hot.
now?
Yeah.
They got 800 million, Embracer got nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
It's
so
almost like Sony buying Bungie.
yeah,
Not quite as bad, but
yep.
but
Uh,
mm.
yeah. And then
Yeah,
the other one for
I
me
never
was,
played
oh
any
no, go
like.
ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I've never played a Hitman game. And yeah, it's funny, for a while it took like I'd always forget, like, oh yeah, Square Enix is like Hitman now. It's weird. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I never got into that one or this next one actually. Although I might have, maybe they came out with this for GameCube.
Uh, I think it was on GameCube because the next game that was big for me was Max Payne, and this was a kind of a weird game. This was Rockstar. They were just starting to get big, but it was, I think Rockstar was the publisher, but Remedy was the actual developers. And so this one, the original one, came out in 2001, and this was neat. Again, I guess I was old enough to get it, but this was like a really dark game. Like there was some crazy stuff happening in this game. I would not want kids under the age of 18 playing this one. It was, so it was like a noir comic style like presentation where it's like, okay, the cutscenes in between the missions were like played out like a comic book. It reminded me, oh, that what's that? There was a movie that was out around the same time that was very similar to it. I'm trying to remember what the movie was. There was a bunch of stars in it. Ah, frig, and it was all in like black and white. And it was like a very
Oh, Sin
noir stuff.
City.
Yes, that's it. It
Yep.
was like very much like Sin City with the way it was presented. And but it was like this cop whose like family was like I guess the big thing at the time was there was like a real big drug problem, and so these drug addicts ended up killing this cop's family very horrifically. and and then I think the cop went on drugs or something himself, and then because he had this bullet time ability, and that was like the big key selling point of this game was bullet time. It's like you basically would make a movement and you could trigger bullet time, and then everything's going in slow motion, but you could control where you were shooting, like you could in real time or whatever, and then you actually like watch the bullets like slowly go into the enemies and stuff. And it would be, you would leap into a room, trigger bullet time, and then you'd like shoot like six guys at once or whatever. And that was really cool to me. And I think Max Payne 2 was similar to it. And then I never played Max Payne 3 because I heard it was like crap. Like
Fell
they
off.
went a new
Yeah.
direction. Yeah. And it was funny too because I remember when Max Payne came out, they made a movie of it with like Mark Wahlberg, I think, of all people, as Max Payne.
That's funny.
I remember hating the movie. I'm like, man, like because they changed a whole bunch of things, and I've never really been a Mark Wahlberg fan myself. So
Mm.
I
No
was
Marky Mark for you, huh?
no mark for me. Even though, like in hindsight, he probably was a good, like he had that Max Payne look to him, I guess. Um, but yeah, there was and there was a few. I think I remember playing the Punisher, and think it had a very Max Payne feel to it because I felt like the Punisher had some kind of bullet time aspect to it as well, and it was kind of the similar thing where it was just like basically just like killed everybody. I remember
Yeah,
being really into that one.
it's funny because I looked up Max Payne, but it actually like reminded me of, you ever hear this game Dead to Rights?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that
Never
was
played it, but
one.
I heard of it.
My brother had that, and I've played it, and yeah, I'm watching some video, and it was like you could dive, and then like it slows down, and you could like target the enemies, pop them, and then like yeah, then all of a sudden it sort of like comes back to full time, and they just sort of get taken down. Um,
Yeah.
So I wonder, it must have just been like a Max Payne alike. You know what I mean? Like sort
Oh
of going for
yeah,
that.
probably because the first Dead to Rights came in 2004, which would have been a couple years after Max Payne. So
Yeah, so I remember playing this one, but yeah, that was again, yeah, not on the PC, but yeah.
well, it's funny that now it wasn't that long ago I played Hotline Miami, which is kind of like a Max Payne. I would call it like a demake.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
I'm pretty sure you go into that bullet time, you basically bust into a room, go into bullet time, and shoot everybody in the room. But it's all like pixely, like bird's eye view or whatever. But Hotline Miami was a game I enjoyed too. So
Yeah.
maybe I just have something
You like
hardwired to.
you like killing people.
I like that all offense, baby. But it was funny. I was going back and thinking like of all the games, like all the big games back then, what's my biggest miss or my biggest regret? Knowing what I know now, because at the time I did not know anything about Half Life, and now I wish I had played it. I still, even to this day, have never played a Half Life, even though I
Yeah.
technically own Half Life Alex on VR and still haven't played it yet.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Um it's I guess I definitely owned the orange box at one point, which had like all of like Valve's games like that. But yeah, I don't think I ever really played it through. I remember, maybe bits and bobs here and there, and I remember like seeing people play it, and yeah, like that. It was like, oh my god, this is so amazing. But I feel like like it was more like I want to play Counter Strike. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. But yeah, it's funny because I remember seeing a video about Half Life and like just saying like some of like the really cool like innovative things they did like to make it feel like the world alive. And like I feel like going and playing that now, like it would just be like, oh, like okay, you're like, oh yeah, that guy like is talking to
Yeah,
someone in the other room, whatever, dude. Like, I think some of that like magic would be missed, obviously going back and playing it now. But yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. People talk so highly of these two games, that yeah, that's one I would eventually maybe one day go, play. I do have. Well, that's actually just weird. I'm looking at my so I have Half-Life 2 in my Steam library, but I do not have Half-Life 1.
yeah. I think I own them both, but
I don't.
I've yet to actually turn them on.
Yeah, I wonder if I meant to buy both. I mean, it would have been on when they were on sale, but yeah, strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's definitely one like a game I would like to revisit. I guess even just a quick aside, like even that I was a big fan of growing up would be like the roller coaster tycoon games and
Oh
those
yeah.
style games.
Yeah. SimCity 2000 and
Oh man,
Civilization.
or even just The Sims, right? Like that was my sister played The Sims a lot, so I played it, but like that was her jam. But yeah, like Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2, those theme park builders, I was always a big fan of. I actually picked those up on Steam sale, and I've downloaded them. I just never got around to playing them yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many like interesting. I mean, I guess all the Sims style games are still around with like Planet Coaster and I guess it's not really Sim City anymore as much as it's I forget what City Skylines, right? I think that's the
Oh
more
yeah, that's a newer one.
they released
I
the City Skylines 2. But I think like Sims games like that, I feel like are like especially when they're like a sequel, I feel like it's gonna like so many steps back because I feel like those are games that you sort of like flesh out as you move forward. But
yeah. Well, if you like games like that too, I would try Frostpunk.
oh, I think I
It's
have
a
that one. I think I got that on
yeah,
Steam sale too.
yeah, that's a pretty neat one. I played that when it first came out. It's kind of it's a simulation game. Like basically the premise is that it's post apocalyptic, and in the sense that like I think the
More like a
world is like
survival
covered in.
almost, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's because there's an ice age, that's taken over the world, and there's like this one city that's trying to survive, and so there's like some kind of drill or something in the center of the city that generates heat. And so, and you basically like the city is a circle around this drill, so there's like all these different like circles of zones, and then you have to like, well, okay, here's where the house or the school's going, here's where the apartments where people can live are, here's the mess hall. And so you're trying to build your city, but you can only build so much, because like there's only so much heat that gets generated. And then the certain things have to be closer to the heat, like, so heat, like temperature is one of the big things that you have to watch with all like the buildings and stuff, like, because if the heat goes down too much, then
They can't survive,
you
kind of thing.
no, yeah, like they'll people get sick and stuff. And I think there's the heat is like generated by coal or something, so you can only use so much. Like you might run out of the resource, and then you have to build up like exploration teams to send out into the wilderness to go like look for food and look for supplies and stuff.
And then they might not
So
make it back, kind of thing.
yeah, so it's like a Sim City, but yeah, like you said, a survival Sim City. Like,
See,
and
yeah,
then there's like,
that sounds awesome, because I feel like
yeah,
the problem with some of those Sims games, like I know they have like missions and stuff, but it's like, oh, like I'm just gonna sort of build what I want and like go from there. Where like, yeah, this seems more like, yeah, like things could go wrong and like you could die, you know.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
There's like
do
always
have
a
it,
constant
so
stress. Oh, that's
yeah.
good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Steam Deck can play. Like the only
I think it said
thing
the
that I would
text was
say,
small, right?
yeah, yeah, like because you kind of need a big screen, because the everything's small, like everything's small. Not even like text is small, but like even like the people are small. Like you're always like zooming in and out and stuff. So
Yeah, it
um,
might be better for the PC.
yeah, or even if you just connect the Steam Deck to a big monitor or something, at the very least.
I checked for you real quick. So StarCraft is free to play the
Hmm.
entire game. Then they have a remastered version that it's $15 normally, but it is actually on sale $7.50. And then I
On
guess they have
Steam?
a no. This is the Blizzard launcher. I don't know. I don't know
Oh
if
yeah, okay.
they sell StarCraft on Steam. I don't see it.
No, no, I don't think they do, because yeah, I think everything goes through.
I,
It's
I
like
think some. I
their
think
own thing.
D4 you can get through um Steam launcher, and yeah, like an Overwatch and stuff. But yeah, for StarCraft you'll have to get that. But yeah, it is cool that it's just free to play. So
Yeah, well, even StarCraft 2 looks pretty neat.
yeah,
Like it
StarCraft
looks.
2 is free to play also.
Oh, really?
So yeah, StarCraft 2 is free to play, and then the campaign collection is $40, or it's on sale for 30. So I guess that means you can go play online and just do whatever, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool too. So yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe one of these days, not necessarily
Yeah.
anytime in the next little bit, but jam out.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, free to play is never. See, that's the only bad thing. Yeah, like because even with like when they were remaking Warcraft 3, like the remaster, it's like it was when like the real poop of the poop was leading Blizzard. And they were pretty much like, yeah, this game is not going to make us $1 billion. Like, just do what we got to
Screw
do to get it out the door. You know.
it. Yeah. Cool. Well, we're getting a little long on time here, so it might be a good spot to wrap up our discussion so far of the late 90s, early 2000s PC gaming. Many more games that we could talk about in the future.
Oh,
Just,
so many
just
games.
so many games. Like, even when I start looking at lists, I'm like, man, I can't believe how many PC games I played back in the day. I can, yeah, the poor people at Game Power that went out of business, probably, cursing me out now.
You
But
only rented it for one night. But you know what?
yeah,
You were giving them rentals. Like, hey,
yeah. Well, that's the thing, is like I probably would not have been going back, twice a week, if I wasn't gonna be able to keep those games for much longer than the 3 days that I was renting them for. So,
yeah, because
uh,
then you might go use it for, yeah, like, oh, this game's cool, I'll buy it. But yeah, it's like
yeah,
they got more money out of you this way,
yeah,
and they were never the
and I mean,
wiser.
if Blockbuster couldn't survive the rental market, they couldn't either. So, I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
feel too bad. But who knows? Maybe I would not be podcasting about video games if they were not so gracious about allowing me to partake in their video game catalog. So,
You'd be in some
uh,
sort of book club or something.
yeah, I don't know about that far, but I'd probably be playing more trading card games. I'd still be on the WWF
Yeah, yeah,
with
you'd still
authority.
be on the grind.
It'd be like me and three other guys fighting for the first rank. Uh,
You're like, I'm the best player in Canada. They're like, oh wow, that's impressive. Like,
yeah,
well, I'm also the only.
yeah. Find out the other three guys are all in Sweden. I'm like, yes, I'm the best North American player.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
At
That's so
top of the
funny.
North American rankings.
Yeah, yeah. No one can even touch me.
Yeah. Playing wrestlers that have retired 20 years on now. But yeah, I guess that will do it for this episode of the Thirsty Mage. I want to thank you, Casey, for reminiscing in some PC gaming nostalgia. As we approach our 300th episode here, hopefully next episode we'll have everyone back for another fun episode together
Big
to
300.
remember.
Woo wee.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I can't don't even believe that there's 300 episodes, but
Yeah, is that wild?
yeah, they're all there in the catalog, so they're all real. It actually happened. Not imagining it. So
Hundreds of hours of us yapping.
yeah, yeah. So I want to thank everyone for sticking with us, and hopefully, if you have some '90s games that you were nostalgic about, please feel free to let us know either in the Discord that you can access through thethirstymage.com, or you can let us know in the comments on whatever podcaster that you happen to use. I think I only noticed the ones that are in Apple and Spotify, so you might want to start there. But you can let me know if you put them somewhere else and I'm just not seeing them. Also, I guess we're posting on the YouTube does podcasts now, so you could also drop me a line there if you want as well.
Boom.
But yeah, I guess, and if you've gone through all 300 of our episodes and you're looking for more content, make sure to check out Casey's podcast, the Talk Nintendo podcast, if you haven't already listened to it yourself.
Yes, yes.
But I guess with that, we'll say goodbye and we'll see everyone out at the next Thirsty Mage.
Adios.